Picture this. Your friend, who you've always trusted, makes a rather peculiar statement. I am always lying. At first, you think little of it, brushing it off as a casual remark. But then, something strange happens the more you think about it. The more your brain starts to twist and turn. If your friend is always lying, that means his statement is false. But if the statement is false, it implies he is not always lying, which would mean he is telling the truth. But wait, that contradicts the very statement he made. It's as if you've stepped into a logic funhouse, where every argument you make gets reflected right back at you, like a ball bouncing endlessly in a game of ping pong. This is the essence of the liar paradox, a never-ending loop that seems to defy resolution. Imagine a world where truth and falsehood are constantly at odds, with no clear way out. The paradox plays out in real time, as each attempt to solve it only spirals deeper into contradiction. Consider the statement, this statement is false. If it's true, then it must be false. But if it's false, then it must be true. The paradox here is one of infinite self-reflection, a loop where you're caught forever, questioning the very nature of truth. Now, imagine this. You have an old, weathered ship, its sails torn, its wood rotting from years of battling the elements. Over time, you begin replacing each part. A new plank here, a new sail there. Eventually, every single part of the ship is replaced with something brand new. So what is it? Is it still the same ship? Or has it become a completely different one? The Ship of Theseus paradox takes you to the heart of a philosophical dilemma. What makes something itself? If every component is replaced, does the object retain its identity? Or is it now a different entity altogether? And, in a fascinating twist, let's say you take all of the original parts and rebuild the ship using them. Which ship is the true Ship of Theseus, the one with all the new parts, or the one made from the original materials? This paradox doesn't just apply to ships. It invites you to think about your own identity. If you were to undergo a series of dramatic physical transformations, plastic surgery, weight loss, hair color changes, are you still the same person? This conundrum dives into the very nature of identity itself, exploring how continuity of function and self-identification can shape our understanding of what it means to be something. Imagine you've just invented a time machine. Eager to test it, you travel back to the past to meet your younger grandparents. Upon meeting your grandfather at the age of 25, you decide that he's a total jerk and you don't think he deserves your grandmother. You intervene and stop them from ever meeting. As a result, your parents are never born. But here's the catch. If your parents were never born, neither were you. If you never existed, how could you have gone back in time to stop your grandparents from meeting in the first place? This is the grandfather paradox, a mind-boggling logical loop that challenges our very understanding of time travel. The paradox implies that any action you take in the past that could affect your existence would lead to a contradiction. If you alter the timeline in such a way that you cease to exist, then you couldn't have traveled back in time to change anything. Time travel, it seems, leads you into an endless cycle of cause and effect with no clear resolution. And this, in turn, leads to the creation of alternate timelines, where your actions might alter one reality but leave others untouched. Imagine standing on a beach, staring at a massive pile of sand. You begin counting the grains, carefully tallying each one. After some time, you count 10,000 grains, and you decide that it's officially a heap. But then, in a moment of curiosity, you remove a single grain. The pile still seems like a heap. But now you wonder, when exactly did it stop being a heap? If one grain doesn't make a difference, at what point does the pile cease to qualify as a heap? This is the Sorites paradox, which examines how small, seemingly insignificant changes can eventually lead to a dramatic shift. It's not just about piles of sand, but about how we perceive gradual changes in anything. If you were to gradually change something about yourself, like swapping all your blue socks for green ones, at what point does your collection of socks stop being mostly blue and become mostly green? Similarly, in life, when do you transition from being a child to an adult? It's a series of small, often imperceptible changes. But the Sorites paradox challenges us to pinpoint the moment when the transformation is complete. Let's say there's a barber in town with a very unusual rule. He only shaves those who do not shave themselves. If you shave yourself, the barber will not shave you. But if you don't shave yourself, then the barber is required to shave you. Now picture this. One morning, the barber realizes he's in need of a shave himself. But if he shaves himself, he will have broken his own rule. On the other hand, if he doesn't shave himself, he falls into the category of people who need to be shaved by the barber. The barber paradox presents a paradoxical situation where rules designed to clarify a situation end up creating an impossible choice. Can the barber shave himself, or can he not? The paradox forces you into an endless loop, as any solution leads to a contradiction. Now, imagine this scenario. You travel back in time to meet a young Michael Jordan before he was a basketball legend. As a token of appreciation for his future greatness, you give him a pair of shoes Jordan sneakers. However, there's a catch. The first Jordan sneaker was only released in 1985, long after you traveled back in time. So, what happens? Michael Jordan is inspired by your gift and uses it as the catalyst for his partnership with Nike, leading to the release of the Jordan sneakers we all know today. The paradox arises when you return to the future, only to find the same pair of sneakers you gave to Jordan still sitting in your home. You see, the sneakers exist because of Jordan's actions, yet Jordan's actions were themselves inspired by you. There's no clear origin for these sneakers, leaving you stuck in a loop where you can't pinpoint the true origin. This is the bootstrap paradox, where an object or idea seems to exist without a clear point of origin, leaving everyone puzzled as to where it came from. Take a solid ball in your hands and imagine slicing it into infinitely small pieces. Now, according to the Ontarski paradox, you could somehow reassemble these pieces not into a single ball, but into two identical balls. It's like magic, except it's not. It's based on advanced concepts in set theory and geometry, dealing with how points in space can be rearranged. The result is that you can seemingly create two identical objects from one, a phenomenon that challenges our traditional understanding of space and volume. If this could happen in the real world, it would be like going to IKEA, only to discover that you can rearrange your room to fit two beds in the space that could previously only hold one. But alas, this trick only works in theory. In reality, creating something from nothing is physically impossible.